Hi, everybody. I would love to do a live recording, but I can't because when this airs, will be in North Carolina doing a special soul retreat with Lee Carroll and Monica Morani as they channel Cryon and I channel Sanaya. But I'm going to channel Sanaya for you today as I sit with my wonderful friend and my video content curator, Christy Majors, who we'll bring in now. Hi, Christy.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Christy. Yeah, we're going to field some questions here that Christy has prepared. She hasn't shared them with me, but she's put together a compilation of questions from you, our Awake and Wake community, over time. I don't have time to answer them all during my monthly events or other programs, so we do these occasional Q&As, and they're always fun and interesting and full of moments that we don't expect, right?
That's right. I have to say, I had so much fun going through all the questions that people have sent in or posted during the monthly connections. I have way more questions than you'll ever be able to answer in this hour, but I can't wait to see what you and Sanaya have to say with a lot of these.
Okay, so anybody that's new to my work, Sanaya is my team of guides that give us the daily messages that are in the Awakened Way app and on my website. Oh, by the way, the website total refresh. I hope you have a chance to check it out if you haven't already. Christy will put the URL here on the screen, SuzanneGiesemann.com. But oh, there's ways to ask questions on there too, but let's do it live. Why don't we just get rolling, Christy?
All right, let's get started. And you'll have to pardon me. I completely forgot to put people's names who asked the question.
Oh, that's we're all joy, right?
That's right.
Okay, joy's my name for source. We're all source and expression. All right.
Okay, the first one says, I'm continuing to see we are collectively craving authenticity in our lives. Do you have any thoughts on how authenticity plays into our development here as a whole?
Oh, do I ever? Uh, One of the things I hear over and over, and I've heard a lot in the last couple of weeks, is Suzanne, you're so authentic, and that's caused me to really question what is that authenticity? And I think what they're saying is I don't let my human self get in the way. And what happens is we as humans are generally very concerned with what other people think about us. And we're afraid of looking bad or looking silly. And anybody that's watched some of my programs knows that sometimes I can get out of my own way and act silly. And just recently, I bear my dirty laundry a lot. And people resonate with that. Why? Because we all want to feel free to express what's really going on in here. We're all, yeah, Spirit says, don't run away, let us talk. And I also got snagged by the clock. It's 1:11 here. I love those numbers. We are all joy, source, spirit, the field of consciousness, expressing as each one of us. And when we don't stick to a storyline that we've learned is how we should act and how others expect us to act, then spirit can express through us freely and joyfully. And others feel that as authenticity. So, often we feel a lot of constriction and restriction and feel trapped because we're sticking to a storyline that was given to us or that we believed we should have. So if you realize you are first and foremost a beautiful soul and you allow that soul to shine through, you will naturally be authentic and resonate with others. Did I answer the question, Christy?
I think you absolutely answered the question.
Okay.
It's wonderful, and I do see that as well. People are wanting to express their truth and express who they are, and not be confined by what society's been telling us we should be.
Yes, and as you said that, what just instantly came into awareness was that unfortunately, when we feel trapped, often expressing what we feel is our truth comes out with anger. And we see that on social media. People feel safe to say how they feel. That is very different from the soul. The soul doesn't express through anger. It's okay to feel angry about the way our human stories are unfolding. But the soul is okay and wants peace and wants us to resonate with each other. There's that word again. So before expressing yourself in your human mode, to be truly authentic, take a deep breath and ask, what is my soul's truth around this? We can have opinions about things and feel and know in our soul that isn't right. That needs to be changed, and express it from a place of love.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, since my husband passed and I've come to understand that he is always with me, my need to connect with him has lessened. In some ways in some ways it makes me feel like we are growing apart. Can you explain this?
Sanaya says you're actually growing closer because you're following that inner knowing, you're allowing that to, without words, express itself as, I don't need proof. I don't need ongoing words. I know we're one. And that is a place of freedom. I just got an email this morning from someone who said, my beloved husband just passed. Can you do a reading for me? And she signed it with the title Medium and Teacher. I didn't know she's a medium, but my first thought is, well, then you know he's here. And then you also can establish a connection with him. But I know that we all want to hear what aspects of our loved ones other people can get. And unfortunately, I'm not able to give her a reading now, but I hope that she can come to know that we don't need proof. Just that knowing that they're right here carries us through. And then we can just carry on a conversation and just sense the presence. Christy, your daughter is across the veil, and you have an ongoing relationship with her. Do you still have readings from mediums?
I do occasionally on special occasions. I do. But not besides that, not very often. Of course, half my friends are mediums now,
True.
and she pops into them often. But yeah, I completely understand what this person is saying. In the beginning, you just have this, this need for validation constantly, even when you know.
Yeah.
You still want proof. You still want those constant reassurance and those constant signs. But as time goes on and you do develop that knowing, I I I don't need those anymore. I really don't. They're fun to get, don't get me
Oh,
wrong,
yeah, definitely.
but I don't have the incessant need that I did in the beginning for those.
Yeah, so for anybody listening, it's perfectly fine not to have that need. Our loved ones love that we can relax and trust that they're right here.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Okay, I thought this one was interesting. When writing your books, are you writing them as Suzanne or Sanaya?
This is so funny because just before you asked the question, I glanced down and I saw my latest book sitting here, and I thought we're gonna want to bring this up at some point. And then the second you said book, I was like, this is a setup. Spirit. I always write my books with my team in spirit. We can't do anything without our guides and loved ones because we all share the same consciousness. And that requires expanding our awareness to to trust that they're speaking through us. I remember when I wrote my first metaphysical book, it was The Priest and the Medium, biography of Anne Gaiman. My mother read it and she said, where did you come up with these words? This was brand new on the path and she didn't understand any of it. And I said, Mom, I didn't write this alone. And that's when I realized how it really works. When you set the intention that the words come from a higher place, it's just going to come out in a beautiful way. Christy, you're in this book. Yeah, there's a big chapter that includes you, but always connected. brand new. We're running a special promotion now for pre-orders, so I hope you'll check it out on my website and see the bonus gifts you can get just for ordering in advance. But this one, more than any other, was written with and in much part of it by my guides. I just spent a couple days in a recording studio narrating the audible version of it, the audio version, and it was very interesting, Christy, because there are many parts where there are dialogues between me and Joy, and my voice naturally changed when I read the words. I thought, am I going to have to force this, or is it not going to come out that way? And it just happened. And there are quite a few, about 25 essays in the back that were channeled to encourage the readers to channel their own and see what answers they get. And again, that was pure spirit. So that was a personal question. How does my writing go? Always in conjunction with spirit.
Yeah, I can't wait for the book to come out and everyone can read it. They're going to
Yeah.
love it. Just
Well,
like
you're going to find out, everybody, how connected Christy really is. Just like asking that question just then. Every week she helps choose a special video to put out every Wednesday. We put new content out every week, and it's just always stunning how she's guided to just the right piece. Or I'll say something and she'll say, I was just working on that. So the web is really evident between the two of us, for sure.
it is. That's so fun too. I love when that happens, and I'm definitely guided, no doubt.
Yeah.
Speaking of guides,
Hmm.
here's a question. I believe I have guides and angels with me, but I've never sensed who they are as individuals. Is
Mhm.
it important to know who our guides or angels are?
Not at all. The deepest understanding we can come to is knowing that is a channel. Paul Selig said this, and it's so true. Your guides are who you become when you realize who you really are. What does that mean? Spirit says, let's translate that for you. We all are waves in one sea of consciousness, and we're in our human form up here at the surface where it's really kind of choppy and fragmented. But we go to the deeper levels, and that's where we find our guides. More expansive, more open, more accessible, able to give us greater guidance. But ultimately, we all are the same ocean. So that's what Paul Selig was getting at. And in answer to your question, your guides are just another aspect of consciousness. My stepdaughter Susan just whispered in my ear here a teaching that she gave me. She said, Suzanne, it's all malleable. Where you put your focus is what you experience. So you put your focus on the deeper levels, on the guides, because you want insights, and you get the insights, but you don't have to have the guide in sight. I couldn't tell you who makes up Sanaya. Certain members have made themselves clear to me. They're a collective consciousness, and others are just wise beings who say just what we need at just the right time. I've stopped needing to know who they are. And when you can just be comfortable with general curiosity about it, but it doesn't have to be a need, you'll actually tune into them even more.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay. I have found that certain modalities that were helpful in my healing no longer work. Can we outgrow them?
absolutely. I'm being shown a spiral. Christy just visited me here at my new home, and there are spirals everywhere. And well, the spiral is the perfect example of how we grow and evolve as spirits. We are ever onward, ever upward in this widening spiral of experience. And if you experience something at a lower level, then you don't need it anymore. And if you miss something in one cycle of your life, then it'll snag you and you'll latch onto it the next go around. So maybe something you learned a few years ago served you very well, was healing for you then, but the fact that it's no longer working is very clearly a sign something bigger and better awaits.
I have certainly experienced that. For a while it was guided meditations that really did it, helped me so much.
Yeah,
And then after that, it was sound healing. I would listen to a lot of sound healing.
yeah.
I've done just about every kind of modality you can think of, and probably some you never heard of. But I've found that that's definitely the case for me. They work for a period of time and then I just don't get the same thing out of them and I try something different.
Yeah. And that's what we as souls came here for. The full experience. Love in full expression is life. Yeah.
That's right.
Excellent example, Christy. Yeah.
Okay. If we are here to experience the fullness of life, that would include feeling fear. How
Mhm.
can I keep from getting stuck in this fear with all that is going on in the world?
Mm. So you felt it, and now you can say, been there, done that. Because fear is programmed in the physical body to keep you physically safe. If you are physically safe, now you can recognize it because you've had that experience of fear. And you can realize that fear blocks your awareness of the deeper guidance that's ready to come and help you. So we simply recognize that's the program, the fear. I've looked at it and I choose peace. The peace is beneath the fear. Peace comes from the very depths of the stillness. Fear's up here at the top. So recognizing that it is part of the fullness, but it's truly not helpful unless you are in immediate physical danger. And even then, you can't react accordingly if you're totally off balance. Then we just notice it. Thanks for that. Now, what is the next best step now? It's simply a matter of acknowledging it, processing it, and asking for higher guidance.
Part of the second part of that question was asking about the best ways to raise the frequency of the world right now to help
Mm-hmm.
shift this fear. And I think you did a double with that, answered that question as well.
Well, it's one light at a time. Each of us, our inner light, turning it up. When we stay in fear, that energy is felt. I was just telling Christy that beforehand, I was feeling off balance because my whole morning got away from me. I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. Clearly, everything's in order, but I was venting at my husband, and my dog felt it and ran away and hid under the bed. I said, look at that. Look what I am radiating. And it felt good for a moment to vent that human stuff. But then, if you look at what those who stay in fear are radiating to our world, is it any wonder we're out of balance? So, the beautiful part about the awakened way of living is realizing we always have a choice. We don't have to stay in fear. We can realize that by setting the fear aside, finding the peace within, asking for guidance, and radiating that peace to the world, others will come out from under the bed. Yeah.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Do our souls grow and change as we have human experiences?
I'm asking Sanaya. I have my own answer, but I'm asking Sanaya, do our souls grow and change? Yes, there's that lip twitch. That's spirit's way of saying, we got this one. Yes, they grow, but not in the way, oh, neat, you think. They're showing me the Nautilus shell again now. We outgrow old experiences because we're adding new experiences to the soul's repertoire. The soul is your true self, but with patterns of experiences. And so you're adding more and more experiences to the wave that is your soul. And so it grows, but not because it has to, it does it for the experience.
Very nice.
Yeah. Hmm.
Do our loved ones across the veil know when we are close to dying so that they can greet us?
Do they ever? And this comes not just from meditation and doing readings, but also from reading reports and watching videos of hospice workers, for example, who witness over and over those on their deathbed in a hospice reaching for or looking at loved ones in spirit who come to walk them across the veil. I got goosebumps just remembering being at my father's bedside in hospice and smelling my grandmother's perfume. This
Mm.
was the year after Susan passed, or 2 years after Susan passed. And I was becoming very familiar with mediumship. It must have been sooner than that. I was definitely not a medium yet. And I remember turning to my sister Christy and saying, "Wow, do you smell grandma's perfume? So distinctive." And she said, "I don't smell it at all." And it wasn't until later I realized my grandmother's energy field was present and it contained the pattern of that perfume. She had come to help her son across the veil. Uh, those in spirit know anything that we wish to share with them. When we come into resonance with those across the veil, they pick up on what's going on in our lives, they follow our lives, and they absolutely know when it's our time.
It's very comforting.
Yeah, it's not Pollyanna. It's just validated over and over and over. And we know it in our hearts, don't we, Christy?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay. I have always believed a person does not die before their time. Recently, a medium told me that my daughter in spirit was mad that she passed when she did because she had so much more she wanted to do. This does not resonate with me, but I want to know what Sanaya has to say about it.
Wow. We can hold on to the story of me when we cross the veil, but it's really hard to hold on to that story when you no longer have a body. Because without the body and the brain that act as filters that really constrict the awareness of who we are as souls, without that body and that filter, it's this instant remembrance. Oh my God, I'm a soul. That's a role I'm playing. And we still play the roles, but it's a choice how much of that role we carry forward with us. And that does not include carrying forward with us anything that's harmful. To make a statement like that medium passed on is harmful to a loved one here who feels that they're suffering, that they're filled with regrets. To me, and I feel truly validated in saying this, that was going through the medium's filter, that's how a loved one feels across the veil. And that loved one across the veil may have had a sudden passing. The medium could have been picking up on the sudden awareness. Oh my goodness, I'm no longer in a body. An awareness, my family is suffering, but a greater awareness that just can't be not denied. This is who we truly are at a more expansive level. It's all about love. So I feel that was a distorted message that would definitely cause one here to worry about their loved ones. But I haven't personally experienced anybody in that state. Once we cross the veil again and no longer have the body, the game is over, as the guides just said. And we are on to a more expanded state of consciousness where there's much greater awareness of how this all works.
That kind of leads into this next question that I had. When a person suffers with drug addiction here on earth, is their relief from the addiction immediate when they cross to the other side?
Yes, you can trust this, the guides say. Yeah. And much more awareness of what led to the addiction and an awareness, a desire to help those who are still addicted. Yeah. People, I don't feel realize how much of a filter the body and the brain are by design. So we have this human experience. There's a, like, I call it the rule set of being human. We're stuck in a time where things unfold linearly. We have to deal with gravity. We can't go flying off and visit our loved ones in different places like we can in consciousness. Yeah, the cause and effect unfolds much more slowly, unlike across the veil where there's a different rule set. When those rules are no longer in effect, that's what the guides meant by the game is over. Now it's on to another game or stage or set with different rules.
Speaking of being on the timeline, is it possible to change events in the past based on our actions in the now?
Spirit says because the rule set is particular and is not allowed to change, or the game would be over for everybody. If suddenly the veil parted and we all saw what's going on, we wouldn't get the learning that we do. I hope everybody understands that the rules exist for a reason. We've at soul level, Spirit said this is going to make for an amazing laboratory and experiences in consciousness. So we can't go back and physically change what happened, but what we can change is how we react to that, because we can change our own energy field as far as emotions and the effect it has on us now. So in meditation, it's very powerful to be willing to go back to an experience that you want to work with and recreate that in all its fullness with those who were there, what you experienced, and say, I'm taking with me an expanded awareness of who I really am, which I didn't realize then. And realizing now why hurt people, why we interacted the way we did, bringing forgiveness into this, curiosity into this. I'm going to react differently, and that's going to change my energy field coming forward. It doesn't necessarily change other people's energy field or what exactly happened, but you are a changed person as a result.
And that's the work of healing too, right?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
My child passed several months ago, and I am still in deep grief.
Mm.
Where do I even start with trying to connect with them when I feel so overwhelmed and don't even want to get out of bed?
Oh, how many of us have been there? First, make a note to check out helpingparentsheal.org, and then spend a lot of time on the internet reading through the archives of their newsletters to see how many people have been exactly where you are and how far they've come, right, Christy? Yeah. And to realize you are not alone and that this is a process and it'll take the legs out from under you. But helpingparentsheal.org and their newsletters, that to me is so helpful to know that this is a normal response. So as you can, start there, and that will lead to a very important ingredient, which is belief. The belief in a greater reality, the belief that love is not the end, which will really tie into the knowing you have in your heart already that your child is not dead and gone, cannot be, because that connection in the heart remains, right, Christy? Why
Yeah.
don't you chime in here? Because you've sure been down
Well,
that road.
what came to mind for me is that, in the beginning, I couldn't read. I couldn't read anything. But Helping Parents Heal has hundreds
Videos.
of videos
Mhm.
in their library on YouTube. And I would just put a video on and listen to videos. And it got to a point where if someone resonated with me, like you, I would go to their website, see what free resources they have, see what videos they might have on YouTube, see what books they had. And as my healing progressed, then I started reading books and read just about anything I could get my hands on. And Helping Parents Heal has a wonderful resources page with the list of books and mediums and just a wealth of information for just about anything you can think of. And over 300 affiliate groups throughout the world now.
Yeah.
So if you live especially in larger cities, you will often be able to find a group there that you can meet with in person, and that has really was a game changer for me when I moved to Phoenix and I was able to be around other parents and be active in a group where we got together regularly and had social events and could talk about our kids freely, and everyone just understood where we were coming from. So,
Yeah. So many of you watching or listening right now don't have a child across the veil, but there's somebody else that you're grieving. And that's why I love that on my new homepage on the newly redesigned website, there are several paths that bring you to my work, and one of those is for those in grief. You click there and it's going to take you to a list of resources and where to start. So just know that you're not alone and there's a reason you're listening to this right now. that kind of thing you'll come to know is spirit guiding you. And most likely your loved ones across the veil working together, because it is really all just that one sea of consciousness again.
That's right. And the resources page on Helping Parents Heal, it isn't just the resources there aren't just for parents who have children in spirit. It's for anyone that has a loved one or who is grieving. That's what you can find information there to help you. I have no doubt.
No doubt. Yeah, good.
Okay. What does it mean when there are spans of time when we don't hear from a loved one on the other side?
That you're not meant to. That's really a hard one to swallow because we need that validation that they're still here, but it's sometimes we need to learn to trust that there are something else we're to be doing right now, and perhaps they're holding back because there's something you are going to learn in that absence. So just you can say, I love the phrase, I would prefer. I would prefer to be hearing from my loved one right now, but I'm not. And that's okay. What's next? I love asking that. What's next? Okay, so we can prefer that something be happening, but accepting reality as it is opens you to new experiences. They haven't gone anywhere at all. You're not doing anything wrong. Just trust the flow of life, please.
Well, and you have several videos that you've come out with in the past month or so addressing that directly, what to do when you don't hear guidance.
Okay. Yeah, you should know, Christy. Okay, good.
I have recently thought about asking friends to come over and meditate together and then share what are hearing from spirit, like a connection circle. Do you have any advice for such group practice?
Oh, yes, it's a fabulous practice. There is so much evidence and I was going to say, and zero doubt that, yeah, group energy raises the vibration. Imagine one light that spirit sees, yours, versus a room full of bright lights with a shared intention of connecting with spirit. Yeah, in spiritualist tradition, that's called a development circle. I've taught a number of classes over the past 10 years or so, and as a result of those classes, small groups have formed online. It doesn't have to necessarily be in person if you don't have anybody around you. Why I love groups in person is y'all get to hug, right? Group hug before and afterwards. And but just know that the same energy can be created in an online group. So those groups continue to meet long after the classes are over. And many of them come to my in-person events and meet for the first time in person, which is really fun. But definitely raising the vibration and being open to what spirit gives you is great. You can set your own guidelines, but generally it's good to have a set process every time. Something at the beginning that will bring you together and get you all centered. Maybe choose one person, a different person each time to lead you through a little invocation, a slow, deep breath so that everybody gets centered together, sets an intention. Why are you meeting? What do you hope to get from that gathering? And then monitor how long you're in silence. So that would be what the monitor would do. Maybe set a little timer for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And then when the time is up, ask people to share or open it up to people getting messages from spirit. It's not only fun, but definitely enlightening.
When Lisa and I came down to visit you this past weekend, I was asking her a lot about how she got started, and she was talking about her development circle, and she said they did it on Zoom, that it was people all over the world, and that's how they got together I think every week or every month, and did that. I thought that was interesting.
Well, just look at this podcast, Christy. Every Sunday, we air it live. If I'm not live, it premieres at the same time every Sunday. And we have anywhere from 500 to 1,500 people joining live and chatting on the right side. You know, it goes quiet when I'll lead a meditation or something like that. But that's a group energy that people come back for. They don't just come for me. It's for that loving energy that community is creating week after week. Spirit just said, if you could see the light the way it increases at that time. And when other like groups do something similar, it truly makes a difference in our own energy fields, our individual fields, and as a group and for humanity. Don't discount that.
Yeah, it reminds me of that book, The Power of Eight.
Oh, yeah, I have that one.
I know you've read that book and talking about the power of gathering together and setting intentions, and it is powerful, very powerful.
Cool. Oh,
Okay.
wait, good
Yeah.
time to mention this coming Tuesday, April 7th. And if you're watching this after that, it's every month. I'm having my monthly connection online gathering. And that's where I share the latest teaching from Spirit over the past month, some great evidential stories that have come up in my readings from the past month, and a shared channeled message from Spirit with healing energy for all. So I've been doing these for 9 years, and we have some people that come back month after month, new people every month, but the energy, well, what do you experience, Christy?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned this because when you were talking about us gathering together on Sundays and the energy, I was thinking about the monthly connection and how oftentimes throughout the day I will just get that feeling of the anticipation and the
Mm.
excitement of what's coming. I love the monthly connection.
Yeah. So if you're interested in that one, go to my homepage, scroll down to highlights. There's always a link for it right there. Yeah, I love it too. And in fact, my team, just so you tell everybody, just so everybody knows, my whole team moderates it, handling comments and such. And afterwards, we always meet for a few minutes because nobody wants to leave that energy. And we just we all come back on the screen as a little group, about 5 or 6 of us. And it's just like, wow, did you feel that love? And so this is one way for all of us to have a group of our peeps, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, I have been learning about soul planning, and I was wondering if we can change our soul plan after we are born.
Spirit says that often happens because humans are gifted with free will. And we come in knowing that there will be certain milestones, but the plan may change along the way because of other humans' free will choices. So we absolutely can change the plan. If it were set in stone, where's the growth for the soul? So yes.
Okay.
Spirit just added on there. In general, however, the plan ends up looking very much like what we came here for, because there are certain experiences the soul wants to have. So, one way or another, we'll end up basking in that energy, they say.
I can see that. I often feel like we're supposed to get to a certain point and we're doing this circle around it and it's like we're getting closer and closer and there's certain points where we're almost we have an opportunity to get there but it doesn't happen so it just keeps coming around and then we get another opportunity to get this lesson or get to that point and I see this all the time. I've experienced that with meeting Dave and Patty Hart. I
Me.
had several instances where we almost met and we almost met and then that we finally met each other and I just felt like we were just getting so close and then it didn't happen but it was supposed to happen. The girls were bringing us together.
Yeah,
We were going to meet one way or another. So
that's
that's
cool.
that's very cool.
And here's a different twist on it. I don't think my friend Lynette will mind me saying that she and I visited a psychic. She treated me as a gift when we were in Sedona several years back. And she came out just shaking her head. She said, the psychic said, I've completed my soul plan. I did everything on the list, and that now I can just relax. And we often talk about that and laugh because she's like, well, why am I still here? For the experience. And some of it's not fun, and yet it's the fullness of life. But the pressure's off Lynette. She's like, yep, got all those checks in the box. And her life, whew, was challenging, really challenging. And yet she is one of the most joyous people I know now and peaceful people, because she's free of that story. She sees it for what it was, a story, but not the true self. And she can find that true self in an instant, the part that doesn't die. Hmm.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's where we find our peace, right?
It's right here. It's right here. Stop the striving, set it aside, realize that what we're looking for is really the peace that's right here. We try to fill it with jobs and titles and possessions and activity and gaining more, but that never satisfies it, that urge. But when we set that aside, here's the peace we're looking for right here. It's paradoxical, but that's the way it works.
Okay, are angels continually being created, or have they just always existed in their form?
Hmm. The guides, whew, they say moment by moment, all beings are created. Waves in the ocean arising and subsiding. The angels have always been at their level. They're eternal, they're timeless, so they're ageless. There are certain angels to which you have given names, such as archangels, whose names we know. And they are the ones that, because humans have believed in them for so long, we feel like they're the only ones, but there are many more at the same level who simply don't have names. Just the ocean arising to assist those of us at the surface levels. Interesting.
I love talking about angels. Okay, I would like to know all about visitation dreams. What is the experience like and purpose for the spirit who is visiting?
Oh my goodness. To offer peace, and there's that word succor, Succore. My guides love that word. Peace, assistance, serenity to those of us here to get through in a visceral way that's felt, to bring that knowing to the surface. Oh my God, they are still here. That dream, it's not disappearing. It was so real. That experience brings to the surface what you know. That feeling, just feel it, everybody, right now. It was so real. That's a knowing that's already here as a part of your soul, that love never dies, that the relationship you have with your loved one is ongoing. A visitation from a loved one is one that sees in your energy field, look where they are in the dream state right now. I can get through to them right now. I'm going to let them know it's time for them to truly embrace that I'm here. And they just drop, insert themselves right into that dream. Yeah.
Okay, how do I know if seeing an unusual animal is a sign from a loved one in spirit?
Okay, Spirit, let me ask. It comes with a certain gravity, they say, a feeling, a sense of knowing. This is where we go down to the belly, the hara, the very center of us, and feel, was that just an animal crossing my path? And the question Spirit's asking is, why are you paying so much attention? Because there's a reason. It got your attention. It snagged you more than a normal animal visit was, and you know. Christy and Lisa Wilcoxon were here. What happened, Christy? We're out showing you the neighborhood here, and tell them what happened.
Ty stopped the car abruptly, and there was a Gila monster going across the road, and I was thrilled because I've lived here for over 3 years and I've never seen one, and I've wanted to see one desperately. So that was
Yeah.
very exciting, and we definitely felt like that was a gift from the kids.
Yeah, because here we are in the car, four people, four children across the veil. And we all had this knowing they made that happen because it's really special to see a Gila monster. And we got out and we got films and pictures.
Walking across the road, that's
Yeah,
very unusual. Just
yeah,
walking across the road in the middle of the day.
yeah. So it's a knowing, and it's not like any one of us said, "Oh, wasn't that an interesting coincidence?" It just came with that knowing, and so yeah, you just know.
I think that especially in the beginning, I hear parents say this all the time, asking, like, was this a sign? Was this a sign? And I always say, did you think of your child when it happened? If you were thinking of your child when it happened, that I would say that that's a sign. If you're questioning it, I would say it's probably a sign.
Yeah, yeah. So this is hilarious. I don't know if you've noticed my eyes keep getting drawn over there, Christy, while you've been for like the last two questions. I was going to tell this story before you asked this question, but now I know it was a setup. Some of you may have heard his story. It's a little bit lengthy, but it's a perfect probably a great way to wrap up this podcast here. One of my favorite stories. The whole time you're talking, there's this bird in the corner of my courtyard acting crazy and flying into the wall and kind of fluttering about and kind of flying down to the ground. And he goes up again. He's not stuck, it's just acting silly. It's amazing. I wish you all could see it. So it reminds me of the time that my friend Lynette, who I mentioned, called me and said, "Hey, did can you check in with our friend Brenda, who's across the veil, and see if she sent a sign to her son Brad last night?" Okay, so I knew Brenda when she was here. The three of us had did things together, and Brenda came to me after she passed and was very easy for me to tune into. She still is. So this is just a great validation of um, how real the spirit world is. Lynette trusts my connection. Clearly, Brenda's son Brad has called Lynette and said, did my mom send a sign last night?" So they asked the medium to check in with Brenda. So I just expanded my consciousness, no longer on the phone with Lynette. You know this story, Christy? Yeah. And I said, "Brenda, did you send Brad a sign last night?" She gave me the whole knowing in a burst. I get on the phone with Lynette. I said, "Yes, that was Brenda. She says she crash dived a bird trying to get a sign through to her son with a bird." Notice how the bird is acting out here right before I tell this story. So it's really funny because I had been doing an experiment with Dr. Gary Schwartz at the University of Arizona, doing a reading for him with one of his students to show how mediumship works. And during that reading, I said to his student, "You have a boyfriend in spirit. He's showing me he sends you large ravens as signs." And she said, "Oh my God, I see ravens all the time." I said, "You see them especially on top of this one telephone pole your boyfriend's showing me." She said, "Yes, I do." And I said, "This is interesting because your boyfriend's showing me that it's very easy for loved ones across the veil to merge their consciousness with a bird to get the bird to act in a certain way to get our attention as a sign that they're with us." And I said, "He's showing me it's like remote control, and the birds think it's fun." That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it, Christy?
No, I love it.
So just then, Dr. Schwartz, who's behind me filming this reading, says, "What did you just say?" And I said, "To get our attention and send us signs, they use like remote control with the bird, just using consciousness, which is really what's happening with all of us. Merging consciousness, our energy fields. And the birds think it's fun. They cooperate. Yeah, guide me around." And so he said that the medium Suzanne Wilson said the exact same thing in a reading with him the week before. So that was pretty cool. And I set that aside. I wasn't thinking of it much. But here comes Lynette saying, "Did Brenda send a sign?" And I said, "Yes." She says she crash dived a bird. Now it makes more sense, right? Imagine Brenda trying to use the remote control with a bird. So now Lynette shares with me exactly what happened. This is a great note to end the show on. So there's Brenda's son, Brad, in the house where Brenda died. It's now his house. It's 2 in the morning or so, and he hears a loud thump outside. So he opens the door holding a baseball bat. Who's out there, right? As he opens the door, a bird flies into the house because it had just hit the front of the house. No bird was truly harmed in the telling of this story or the enactment of this story. True story. So he opens the door, the bird flies in, flies into the living room, hits the wall, and falls down behind the TV. I mean, come on, everybody. I ask a disembodied spirit, my friend Brenda, who is allegedly dead and gone, but she is not. She's right here. And I say, "Did you send a sign to your son?" And she goes, "Yeah, I crash dived a bird last night." And that is exactly what happened. And happily, Brad was able to shoo the bird out and shoo it out the front door, and it flew away happily ever after. And he's happy because he knows that really was my mom. I got the goosebumps.
I know. Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Isn't it awesome?
It's so awesome. I've gotten lots of signs from birds,
Yeah.
and I didn't have any doubt what it was.
Yeah. And the birds think it's fun. Use me, right? Well, when you think about a flock of birds, we watch them and they fly as one flock and they all turn and fly and move simultaneously. There's no pause while, oh, the guy up front turned right, we're supposed to turn right. It's simultaneously because they become one field of consciousness. And we as humans are part of one human field. We just haven't learned or evolved enough to tune into each other's field that we move in harmony. And that's what programs like this and coming to understand who we are help us to do, to become more coherent energy fields ourselves, to move in harmony with each other. And you asked just the most beautiful questions today, Christy, to help us clear out the fear, to realize how important it is to become coherent beings and shine our light. And knowing that death is not the end helps us realize that what we do now is important because we take that with us across the veil, and that our loved ones are guiding us to the best of their ability just by merging with our own consciousness, if we will only become still enough to listen.
Oh, that's beautiful, Suzanne. What a perfect way to end this. I could do this all day.
I could too, but I just have to laugh at how that was a setup from Spirit. I had no idea how this was going to end. I thought we'd just end up with a couple more questions, but I couldn't help but notice that bird acting so silly over there in the corner and repeatedly hitting the wall and sliding down and coming back up. And now I know why. And by the way, it was a dove. And I remember being at Brenda's house and hearing the doves over and over, and
Oh,
what
I think
messengers.
someone's saying hello.
Yeah, hey Brenda. She's never far. So everybody, we love you. Hope you found some inspiration and insight. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday when we premiered this. If you were watching it later, please share it with others. Hit subscribe and let others know about this program, because it's all about helping people awaken to who we really are. Final words, Christy?
I'm just so happy to be a part of this community. I love you all, and I love you too, Suzanne.
I love you, Christy. And I hope y'all will remember now to run and pre-order Always Connected to find out how Spirit brought Christy to me. Truly magical. All right, everybody, go out and have a great week. Again, we love you.
Bye.